Hey everyone, welcome back to the AI Tech channel. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a seriously hot topic that's got everyone talking. Trump's plan to deport foreign students who support Hamas. Is this a necessary step to protect national security or a dangerous attack on free speech? I know, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Some might say it's a violation of basic human rights. But what if I told you there's a hidden legal framework that might actually make this possible? And what if the real goal isn't just about security, but about reshaping the entire landscape of academic freedom? Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. I've got some incredible data to share with you that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Okay, let's break down what's actually happening. 6 weeks into what some are calling Trump's second administration, and just days after he promised to crack down on illegal protests on college campuses, the State Department has already revoked the visa of a foreign student involved in pro-Hamas disruptions. This isn't just talk, it's action. Now, the official line is that this is about enforcing existing immigration law. According to the Immigration and Nationality Act, anyone on a visa, whether it's for tourism, study, or work, can have their visa revoked if they're deemed inadmissible. This includes anyone who supports terrorist activity. Remember that attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023? Well, the government is now using that as justification for this crackdown. The Trump administration is saying, and they are very serious about it, that if you support Hamas, you're supporting terrorism, and you're out. But it goes even deeper than that. The INA also gives the president broad powers to suspend the entry of any group of aliens he deems detrimental to the interests of the United States. Think back to Trump's first term and the travel ban. The Supreme Court actually upheld that power, saying the president only needs to find that the entry of certain aliens is against the national interest. Now, Trump is using this same legal precedent to justify his actions against pro-Hamas supporters. One of the first things he did was to order federal agencies to strengthen the screening of people coming into the country and those already here. He wants to make sure that no one in the U.S. holds hostile attitudes toward our citizens, culture, or government. He even ordered the use of all available and appropriate legal tools to prosecute and remove perpetrators of anti-Semitic harassment and violence. This is a full-court press, folks. Now, some people are asking, isn't this just common sense? The argument is that every country has the right to decide who it lets in and who it kicks out. When you apply for a green card or citizenship, you have to swear you're not affiliated with groups like communists, Nazis, or Islamists. It's about protecting our national security and our way of life. Remember back in 2020, when 1,000 Chinese nationals had their visas revoked for being national security risks? The Biden administration even defended that Trump action in court. This is not a new concept. It's a core function of government. The INA even says that the admission of non-immigrants is subject to whatever conditions the Attorney General prescribes. So, the government can deny or revoke visas for those who advocate causes that are against the U.S. This isn't about suppressing free speech. It's about protecting our country from those who would do us harm. But is it really that simple? That's what we need to unpack. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, the First Amendment. Can the government really deport people for expressing their political views? Free speech advocates are raising serious concerns. They argue that this policy could have a chilling effect, silencing vulnerable student protesters who rely on visas to stay in the U.S. Sarah McLaughlin, a scholar at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, puts it this way. Do we want deportation to be a consequence for expressing political views disfavored by the White House? That's a powerful question. Carrie DeSalle, a lawyer at the Knight First Amendment Institute, points out that First Amendment protections apply to everyone in the United States, regardless of citizenship or visa status. She says deporting non-citizens based on their political speech would be unconstitutional. But here's the catch. The government still has significant authority over who can stay in the country. This creates a really tricky situation where free speech rights clash with immigration law. And where's the line? Now, let's talk about the issue of anti-Semitism. The Trump administration says this crackdown is necessary to combat the explosion of anti-Semitism on college campuses since October 7th, 2023. They argue that pro-Palestinian protests have crossed the line into anti-Semitism. But critics say that Trump is weaponizing anti-Semitism for political gain. Ben Alinsky, a fellow at the Center for American Progress, says it does nothing to keep Jewish students or any other Americans safe from hate or prevent terrorism. He argues that Trump's real goal is to silence opposing voices. And it's true that reports of anti-Semitism have risen, but so have incidents of anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian hate. The Council on American Islamic Relations says it received a 69% increase in complaints of anti-Muslim discrimination in the first half of 2024. So, Is this really about fighting hate, or is it about targeting a specific group of people? That's the million-dollar question. It's important to understand where this policy is coming from. Critics point out that Trump's plan to deport pro-Palestinian students mirrors a blueprint from right-wing organizations like the Heritage Foundation. They see this as part of a broader effort to target the pro-Palestinian movement and suppress dissent on college campuses. Remember when Marco Rubio urged the State Department to revoke the visas of students who protested Israel? This has been a long time coming. Dima Khalidi, the director of Palestine Legal, calls Trump's order the latest in a growing list of dangerous, authoritarian measures aimed at enforcing an ideological strangulation on schools. She believes it violates the First Amendment and encourages universities to become censors and snitches. This isn't just about deporting a few students. It's about reshaping the entire academic landscape. But does it really violate the First Amendment? Let's dive into the legal arguments. Okay, so what's likely to happen next? Well, this executive order is almost certainly going to face legal challenges. The ACLU has already hinted at a lawsuit, arguing that it violates the First Amendment. They'll likely argue that deporting people based on their political speech is unconstitutional. The government, on the other hand, will argue that it's acting within its authority to protect national security and enforce immigration laws. They'll point to previous court decisions that have upheld the president's power to restrict immigration. This is going to be a long and complicated legal battle, and the outcome is far from certain. But one thing is clear. This case will have major implications for free speech rights and immigration policy in the United States. We're talking about fundamentally changing the rules of the game. So what's the bottom line here? Trump's plan to deport pro-Hamas supporters is a highly controversial policy that raises serious legal and ethical questions. Supporters say it's necessary to protect national security and combat anti-Semitism. Critics argue that it violates the First Amendment and could have a chilling effect on free speech. The courts will ultimately decide whether this policy is constitutional. But regardless of the legal outcome, this case has already sparked a national debate about the balance between security and freedom. This isn't just about a few students. It's about the future of academic freedom and the role of government in policing political speech. So what do you think? Is Trump right to deport pro-Hamas supporters? Or is this a dangerous attack on free speech? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the biggest tech and political stories of the day. Thanks for watching. And keep an eye on this story, because I have a feeling it's far from over.